I always thought a house could feel like freedom. Ours, however, had become my prison. Lucius Malverne's estate loomed around me like a gilded cage, its marble floors cold under my bare feet, its chandeliers glittering like reminders of my captivity. He never hit me, or at least, not in ways that left marks visible to others. But every lock, every command, every sharp word was a chain. I had learned the rules quickly. Please, obey, and survive. Displease, and I found myself trapped in the attic, the only window, a tiny skylight that barely allowed the night sky to peek through. Tonight, I had been locked up for a minor slip, misplacing a vase in the grand hall. He had told me nothing, just slammed the heavy door behind me, leaving me in the shadows, the silence pressing in like a physical weight. Why am I even here? I whispered to myself, pacing the cramped space. My hands shook, not just from the cold, but from the anger simmering beneath the surface. Why do I allow this? I pressed my palms against the slanted ceiling, staring at the skylight above. Moonlight cut through the gloom, a thin silver path to the outside. My pulse quickened, an unfamiliar sensation crawling through me, something stronger than fear, something daring. Suddenly, a memory flashed. Milo Grant, the boy next door, laughing in the garden as kids, showing me how to climb trees, always careful not to let me fall. His face appeared in my mind, and for the first time in months, I felt a spark of hope. I crouched beneath the skylight, testing the latch. It was old, rusty, but movable. If I don't try, I'll never know, I muttered. Heart pounding, I lifted myself up, sliding the latch open. The window creaked, protesting, and I held my breath. Below, the courtyard glimmered under the moon. The drop was terrifying, more than I remembered as a child, but freedom demanded risk. I exhaled, jumping. The wind rushed past, icy and exhilarating, before I landed hard in the flower bed. Pain shot through my ankle, and for a second, I thought the world might tip over. Then I saw him. Milo, standing at the edge of the garden, his eyes wide, jaw tight. Lyra, he shouted, rushing toward me. I'm fine, I gasped, trying to mask the trembling in my body. I need it out. Milo knelt beside me, inspecting my leg. You could have broken something, or worse. His voice was sharp, but beneath it, concern radiated. Lyra, why didn't you call me? I shook my head, swallowing the lump in my throat. I can't. Not yet. Not until I know I can do this alone. I can't live like I was. He exhaled, pulling me to a bench. You're not alone, he said firmly. Not anymore. I've loved you since we were kids, and I'll never let him trap you again. Something in me shifted at his words. Strength, like sunlight through the clouds. Then we start now, I said, my voice steady. No locks. No cages. No fear. Milo smiled, brushing a loose strand of hair from my face. Then let's build a plan. One that ensures you're never trapped again. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe freely. The sky wasn't just above me, it was part of me now. And I swore to myself that I would never let anyone cage me again. The next morning, Milo and I sat in the garden, sunlight warming our skin. Birds chirped, oblivious to the storm that had been my life for years. I sipped tea, trying to calm the racing in my chest. Milo leaned back in the wicker chair, arms crossed, his expression unreadable but sharp. Lyra, he began, voice low, you can't go back up there. Not ever. He's already tested your limits, and you know what he's capable of. I know, I admitted, eyes fixed on the fountain. But I need proof. Evidence. Something that will make the world see what he's done. Milo nodded, leaning forward. Good. That's smart. But it has to be airtight. If this is going to work, we need records, documents, photos, anything that shows the attic is literally a prison. And his mistresses, every detail counts. I frowned. It feels vindictive. Not vindictive, Milo said firmly. Necessary. Justice. He reached across, placing a hand on mine. Lyra, I've watched him control you for too long. I can't change the past, but I can help you take back your life. I looked at him, the weight of years pressing on my chest. You've always cared for me, haven't you? Milo chuckled softly, though there was no humor in his eyes. Since we were kids, I promised myself I'd protect you. I just never thought I'd have to do it like this. A tense silence followed. I swallowed, nodding. Then, help me. Every step. Show me how to fight him, legally and otherwise. First, Milo said, pulling a notebook from his bag. We document everything. Attic measurements, locks, bars, ladders, every detail. Photographs, sketches. Then we map the social connections, his mistresses, business partners, anyone who might testify. And finally, he hesitated, looking at me intently. We hit him where it hurts, his reputation and his freedom. I exhaled slowly, feeling a thrill of resolve. And he won't see it coming. No, Milo agreed. Because we're not just reclaiming what's yours. We're showing him that control ends where courage begins. I gave a small, determined smile. I used to be afraid of him. Afraid of failing, of being trapped forever. But not anymore. I'll do whatever it takes. Milo grinned faintly. That's my Lyra. The girl who climbs trees with me, who used to dare the wind, she's still there. And now she's stronger than ever. I laughed softly, a lightness I hadn't felt in years. Then let's start with the attic. Good, Milo said, standing. Tonight we go back. But this time, you'll see it for what it truly is. Not a home, not a cage, but evidence. And the first step to freedom. I nodded, chest tightening with anticipation. And after that? After that, Milo said, his gaze steady and fierce. We make sure he can never trap you, or anyone else again. I felt the fire ignite fully in my chest. For the first time, the shadows didn't feel suffocating. They felt like a battlefield waiting for me, and I was ready. That night, the house was silent, the kind of quiet that made every creak of the floorboards feel like a shout. Milo and I moved carefully, shadows among shadows, the garden's moonlight casting slivers of silver across the walls. You sure you're ready for this? Milo whispered, crouching beside me. His hand brushed mine, a grounding touch. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. I have to be. If I don't, he wins. And I won't let him. He glanced toward the main house. Remember, Lyra, keep calm. Focus on the evidence. Not him. He's dangerous if he senses fear. I inhaled, forcing my body to relax, and then nodded. Okay, let's go. We slipped inside, moving toward the staircase that led to the attic. My pulse quickened, a mix of fear and exhilaration. Every step brought memories, nights of isolation, nights of terror, the suffocating darkness above the grand halls where he hosted his parties. When we reached the attic, Milo motioned for me to pause. See the lock, he whispered. Old, brittle, but still enough to keep you trapped. I pressed my palm to the door, my fingers tracing the edges. I hated this place, I said softly. And yet, it's about to betray him. Milo smirked. Exactly. I turned the lock carefully, testing it with the skill I had learned from years of surviving him. It clicked open. The door groaned, but we moved inside. The attic smelled of dust and cold wood. Moonlight spilled through the skylight, illuminating the bars and chains he had used to keep me confined. I pulled out my phone, snapping photos of every lock, every scratch on the walls. This is it, I murmured. Every detail counts. Milo crouched beside me, sketching the room, noting measurements. Perfect, he said. We've got everything for legal proof. Now, we just need to make sure anyone who doubted you sees this for what it is. A sudden noise made us both freeze. Footsteps below, laughter. Lucius entertaining some mistress, no doubt. I flinched. Milo grabbed my arm. Stay calm. He can't know we're here. I can't believe I lived through this, I whispered, voice trembling. All these years, hiding, pretending, obeying. You don't have to anymore, Milo said firmly. You're not the same girl. You're stronger, smarter. And I'll be with you every step. I turned to him, eyes burning. Thank you, Milo. I don't think I could do this alone. He smiled softly. You won't. I promised. Now, let's finish this before he comes up here. We gathered the last of the evidence, taking careful measurements of the bars and skylight, photographing every angle. I ran my hand along the walls one last time. Goodbye, Cage, I whispered. You don't control me anymore. Not now, Milo said, standing. And not ever again. We slipped out the skylight, retracing our path to the garden. My legs shook, but it wasn't from fear. It was from the power that surged through me, the sense that finally I had taken the first step toward freedom. And as Milo held my hand on the lawn, I realized something I had long forgotten. The sky wasn't just above me. It was part of me. The next morning, the mansion hummed with life. Servants moved quietly, unaware that the heiress they had feared for months had already claimed her first victory. Milo and I sat in the garden, laptops open, sketching out the next steps. Lucius will notice something's off, Milo said, his fingers flying over the keyboard. You escaping the attic, it's subtle, but he'll sense it. I frowned, sipping my tea. Good. Let him sense it. Let him squirm. I want him uncomfortable. I want him to know he no longer owns me. Milo's gaze softened. And you're ready for the fallout? Once we go public, it won't just be him who reacts. People will take sides. Rumors will fly. I tilted my head, a small smirk forming. Let them. I've spent years being silenced. Now it's their turn to listen. He nodded approvingly. Exactly. But first, we need witnesses. The servants, some of them saw what happened. They've been afraid of Lucius, but now they might cooperate. I clench my fists. I want them to speak. Every word counts. I want Lucius's lies exposed in full. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a text from the estate manager. Miss Finch, Mr. Malverne has noticed some irregularities in the attic. He seems suspicious. I showed it to Milo. He's already suspicious. That's faster than I expected. Milo's jaw tightened. Good. That means we're working on the right path. Now we escalate carefully. He'll act, and every move he makes will be documented. That's when the evidence hits. I nodded, feeling the fire inside me intensify. I never realized I could feel this alive, this powerful. All those months of fear, all those nights trapped, it was preparing me. I can't be silent anymore. Milo reached across the table, his hand brushing mine. You won't be. Not with me. I've always admired your spirit, Lyra. And now, I get to fight beside you. I looked into his eyes, the boy I had known since childhood, and felt gratitude and trust one had never allowed myself to feel with anyone else. Milo, thank you. For believing in me. For everything. He smiled faintly, eyes serious. You've always had the strength. I just make sure you see it too. A sudden knock at the garden gate made us both freeze. I peered through the ivy. A messenger was there, holding a sealed envelope. I took it cautiously and opened it. It was from Lucius. I know something has changed. Don't think your little escape goes unnoticed. You are mine, Lyra Finch. Always. I felt a shiver, not of fear, but of anticipation. Milo's hand tightened around mine. He's rattled. That means we're close. He knows his control is slipping. I let out a quiet laugh, sharp and dangerous. Then it's time to show him what happens when he underestimates me. No more cages. No more silence. Milo smiled, eyes gleaming. Then let's prepare. The world will see the truth. And he'll have no choice but to face it. I looked up at the sky, the open expanse stretching above me. Freedom wasn't just a concept anymore, it was mine. And I would fight to keep it no matter the cost. Lucius didn't wait long to strike. By the afternoon, whispers rippled through the estate like a warning bell. Servants avoided my gaze. Doors closed too quickly. The air felt thick, charged. Milo noticed it too. He's moving, Milo said quietly as we stood near the garden windows. When men like Lucius lose control, they try to reassert it fast. I folded my arms, steadying myself. Let him try. Every move he makes now only strengthens our case. As if summoned by my words, Lucius appeared at the edge of the garden path. He looked immaculate as always, tailored suit, polished shoes, but his eyes were sharp with anger. "Lyra," he called smoothly. "We need to talk." Milo stepped closer to me. "You don't owe him anything." "I know," I whispered back. Then I raised my voice. "Say what you want, Lucius. Here." Lucius's smile didn't reach his eyes. "You're being dramatic," he said. "Running away in the night? Talking to outsiders? This behavior is concerning." I laughed softly. "You used to tell me I was fragile, unstable. Funny how I became concerning the moment I stopped obeying."
His jaw tightened.
"Come back inside. We'll discuss this privately." "No," I said clearly. The word hung in the air like a blade. Lucius's voice dropped. "You're embarrassing yourself." "No," Milo cut in calmly. "You're embarrassing yourself by thinking you still have authority here." Lucius turned on him. "This doesn't concern you." "It concerns me when a woman I care about was imprisoned in her own home," Milo replied, unwavering. Lucius scoffed. "Imprisoned?" The attic was for reflection. She needed discipline. I felt something inside me go cold and sharp. "Say that again," I said quietly. "Say it exactly the same way." Lucius hesitated, just for a second. Milo glanced at me knowingly. "We're recording," he said. Lucius stepped back. "You wouldn't dare." "I already am," I replied. "Every word, every excuse, every lie." His composure cracked. "You think anyone will believe you? You fell. You're clumsy, emotional." I took a step forward, my voice steady. "I escaped through a locked skylight. I fell because you built a cage. And cages leave marks, even if you pretend they don't." For the first time, Lucius looked uncertain. "You should leave," Milo said firmly, "before you say something else you can't take back." Lucius stared at me, fury burning behind his eyes. "This isn't over." I met his gaze without flinching. "It's already over. You just haven't realized it yet." He turned and walked away. The moment he disappeared, my knees trembled. Milo caught my arm instantly. "You did incredible," he said softly. I let out a shaky breath. I was terrified. "I know," he said. "And you still stood your ground. That's real strength." That evening, we met with two former staff members who had quietly agreed to speak. One of them looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I heard you crying up there," she whispered. "We all did. We just didn't know how to help." "You're helping now," I said gently. "That's what matters." As night fell, Milo spread out documents and recordings across the table.
"This is it," he said.
"He's cornered. Tomorrow we take this to the authorities." I looked toward the open window, the sky dark but endless. "I used to think freedom meant escape," I said. "Now I know it means justice." Milo smiled. "And you're finally getting both." The next morning, the mansion was quiet in a deceptive way, as though the walls themselves were holding their breath. Milo and I sat in the garden, documents, photos, and recordings laid out before us. Today, Lucius would learn that control was no longer his. "Are you ready for this?" Milo asked, voice low, gripping my hand. "Once this goes to the authorities, there's no turning back." I nodded, heart pounding. "I'm ready. He needs to see that I am not afraid anymore. That fear doesn't belong to him. It belongs to me, if anyone at all." Milo smiled faintly. "That's my Lyra. Steady.
Fierce.
Smart." Just then, a car pulled up to the driveway. I squinted through the hedge. Lucius stepped out, perfectly composed, or as perfect as one could look while cornered. "Lyra," he called, voice sharp but controlled. "We need to talk alone." I inhaled and straightened.
"No."
"Everything we need to discuss is already documented. And you'll be talking to more than just me this time." His eyes narrowed, scanning the garden, then landing on Milo. "Why is he here?" "I'm here to make sure you understand," Milo said evenly. "This ends today, Lucius. Your control, your lies, they're finished." Lucius stepped closer, fury flashing across his face. "You're making a mistake. You'll regret this." I felt the old fear rising, but I pushed it down. I've been regretting my silence for years. This is the first time I speak and act. Milo moved to stand beside me, his presence grounding. "We've recorded everything. Your mistresses, the attic, your threats. Every word, every action. You're done." Lucius's jaw tightened. "You think anyone will believe you?" I stepped forward, my voice ringing clear. "I don't think."
I know.
The staff, the witnesses, the evidence, they all tell the truth. And truth isn't afraid of anyone. He took a step back, his confident mask cracking. "You can't do this to me." "Oh, I can," I said softly, yet with fire. "And I already have." "Milo, send the files." Milo tapped his tablet. Within seconds, the evidence was sent to authorities, legal counsel, and trusted allies of the estate. Lucius froze. "You what?" "I took back what was mine," I said. "My freedom."
My voice.
"And I will never let you cage me again." Milo stepped closer to me, wrapping a protective arm around my shoulders. "And I'll never let anyone hurt you again. Not him. Not anyone." Lucius's face paled as realization hit. "This isn't over." "It is over," I said, meeting his eyes. "For you, for me, for everyone you thought you could control. It ends now." Lucius spun and left, his threats empty in the face of law, truth, and my newfound courage. I exhaled deeply, the weight of years lifting. "I can't believe it's finally over," I whispered. Milo smiled, brushing a loose strand of hair from my face. "It's over. You did it, Lyra. You faced the cage and walked out, stronger than ever." I looked up at the sky, the same vast, open sky that had seen my first jump from the attic. "Stronger," I repeated, feeling the fire of victory pulse through me. "And free." Milo squeezed my hand. "And from here, we build. No locks, no cages. Only open windows. Only sky." I smiled, a real, unshakable smile. No more cages. Ever. The morning after Lucius's furious departure, the estate felt different, lighter, as though the walls themselves had sighed in relief. Milo and I moved through the halls, gathering evidence, meeting with staff, and preparing statements for the authorities. "You're calm," Milo said, leaning against the doorframe of my old bedroom. "For someone who is locked in the attic, you're unnervingly calm." I smirked. "I've learned the difference between fear and control. Fear is mine to command. Control, that's his to lose." He shook his head, smiling faintly. "You're unbelievable, Lyra. I've known you since we were kids. But seeing you now, you're unstoppable." I felt a warmth in my chest, not just from pride, but from Milo's presence. "It wasn't just me," I said softly. "You've been there. You've believed in me even when I couldn't believe in myself." He stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "I always have and I always will. But now you're finally letting me be more than a bystander." I swallowed, heart pounding. I've never needed anyone to rescue me. But I've never had anyone I trusted so completely. I want that." Milo's hand lingered on my cheek. "Then you have it. All of it. No cages, no silence. Just us." I closed my eyes, savoring the feeling of safety, of strength, of love. "And Lucius?" I asked, opening them again, determination in my gaze. "He's done," Milo said firmly. "The authorities are already handling the investigation. The staff statements, the photographs, the records of the attic. He won't touch you again. Not socially, legally, or personally." I exhaled, the weight of years of fear lifting. "I can't believe it's finally over." Milo smiled, taking my hand. "It is over. And from now on, it's only about what you want. Your life, your choices, your happiness." I felt a surge of freedom, looking out the window at the open sky. "No more cages," I whispered, smiling. "No more cages," Milo echoed, his voice low, intimate. He brushed his lips against my forehead. "And no one will ever make you feel trapped again. We spent the day meeting with the staff who had once been silent, encouraging them to speak their truth. Their relief was palpable, their fear dissipating as they realized justice was taking shape. By evening, the estate's atmosphere had shifted entirely. I walked through the gardens, feeling the soft grass beneath my feet, the wind in my hair, and the sky stretching infinitely above. For the first time in my life, I felt truly in control. Milo joined me, wrapping his arm around my waist. "This is your world again," he said softly. "And I get to be here, with you, as you reclaim it." I leaned into him, heart swelling. I never thought I'd feel this alive.
Free.
Happy. "Then don't just think it," Milo said, voice gentle but certain. "Live it. Every day. And I'll be right here. Every step." I smiled, resting my head against his chest. "Every step," I echoed. "And no more fear. Ever." As the sun dipped behind the horizon, painting the sky with shades of gold and rose, I realized something I had long forgotten. The sky wasn't just above me. It was mine. And with Milo by my side, I would never be caged again. The courtroom was silent except for the soft shuffle of papers and the occasional cough. I stood beside Milo, heart steady, but adrenaline coursing through me. Today wasn't about fear, it was about justice. "Are you ready?" Milo whispered, brushing his thumb along my hand. I met his gaze and nodded. "I am. He can't scare me anymore. Not in this room, not anywhere." Lucius sat across from us, flanked by expensive lawyers. His confident mask was slipping. He shifted in his seat, eyes flicking nervously toward the gallery where witnesses waited. When the judge called the session to order, I felt a calm focus settle over me. I was no longer the girl trapped in the attic. I was Lyra Finch, the woman who had taken her life back. The first witnesses took the stand, staff members who had been too afraid to speak before. One by one, they recounted what they had seen: Lucius's cruel punishments, the attic imprisonment, the nights of silent torment. Each account strengthened my resolve. "He's lying," Lucius snapped at one point, but his voice lacked conviction. Milo's steady hand on my shoulder reminded me to remain calm. When my turn came, I took a deep breath and addressed the court. "I have lived in fear for far too long," I said, voice firm. "But fear cannot define me anymore. Every word of truth I speak today is mine. I am not silent. I am not broken. And I am not yours to control, Lucius." Lucius's jaw tightened. "You exaggerate." I shook my head.
"No."
"I survived. And now the law will acknowledge what I endured." The judge nodded, and Milo's hand found mine again. "You're incredible," he whispered. Finally, after hours of testimony, documents, and irrefutable evidence, the verdict was announced. Lucius was found guilty of abuse and legal violations regarding the estate. He would face jail time, fines, and permanent restrictions on any claim to my property. I exhaled, feeling a weight lift from my chest. Milo squeezed my hand, and I let myself smile freely for the first time in years. As Lucius was escorted out, eyes burning with impotent rage, I felt no fear, only clarity, relief, and triumph. Outside the courthouse, Milo wrapped me in his arms. "You did it," he murmured. "You faced him, and you won. That's strength." I rested my head against his chest, feeling safe and whole. "We did it," I corrected softly. "Together." He pressed a gentle kiss to my temple. "Always. And from now on, this is your life. Open, free, and full of choices you make." I laughed softly, spinning slightly to face him. "And you'll be here, too?" "Always," Milo said firmly, smiling. "No cages. No limits. Just us." I took a deep breath, inhaling the crisp air. The estate, once a prison, now felt like a sanctuary. The sky above stretched wide and endless. For the first time, I truly understood what freedom meant. I never imagined I'd feel this alive, I admitted. Milo tilted my chin up gently. "You were always alive, Lyra. You just had to see it for yourself. And now the world, your world, is ours to enjoy." I smiled, feeling the final chains of fear fall away. "Forever free," I whispered. "Forever free," Milo echoed. And as we walked hand in hand into the garden, sunlight breaking across the horizon, I knew it was the beginning of everything I deserved: justice, love, and a life unbound. The sky was ours, and nothing, no one, could cage me again.